All right, we'll go ahead and get this thing started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Handle Information Technologies. My name is Katie Notman, and I work here in the Business Development Department here at Handle IT, and I will be moderating today's webinar alongside our presenter, Casey Bader, who is our Vice President of Business Development. Our session today will be recorded, and you will all receive a copy of it in your inbox tomorrow that you can rewatch or share with anyone who wasn't able to attend today. As for what to expect from today's event, Casey will be walking you through the new features of our latest version of RiteTrack and how they can be beneficial for your program, tribe, department, or whatever. During the session, please send in any questions that you might have to the chat box or the question box, and we will do our best to work through those at the end. Also, at the end of the session, a survey is going to pop up on your screen, and we ask that if you have a couple extra quick minutes of your time to give us any feedback that you might have so we can continually improve our webinar experience. And with that, I will hand it over to Casey to get started.
Great, thank you very much, Katie. Appreciate the introduction. If you can just help me and make sure that we're all set here and that you are seeing my screen.
Yep, it looks good.
All right, very good. Thank you all. Well, thank you for joining us here today. As Katie said, we're constantly seeking to improve our webinar experiences, but we're also seeking to do the same with RiteTrack. And what I'm going to be talking about today is some of the things that are a part of the newest platform release, and that represent the future of RiteTrack and how RiteTrack is able to digitize and turn electronic your case management processes. But we're going to be talking more about, let's see here, come on, there we go, about the technology today. But I'm gonna, for those of you, I understand there may be some current RiteTrack customers, users in the webinar today, but also some that don't have as much information about us and don't know as much about Handle or RiteTrack. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about us, then I'll get into the agenda of what we're going to be covering as far as the new features in RiteTrack go. A little bit about Handle Information Technologies, and this may seem obvious, and it is. We are the developers of RiteTrack, but I bring that up to mention the fact that we only develop RiteTrack. RiteTrack isn't one of our product lines. RiteTrack is all that we do, and so it is imperative that we future-proof RiteTrack to for the next 10, 20, 30 years and more. We've been implementing RiteTrack for the types of agencies that we serve for over 25 years now. Those are primarily tribal, county, and state government agencies. We work with both social and justice programs on the social side. For tribes, think enrollment, Indian child welfare. For others, think child protective services, temporary assistance for needy families, financial services or treatment services. For justice programs, think courts, probation offices, detention facilities, and police departments. So across different types of governments, we serve many programs kind of under that umbrella of social and justice programs. And we're doing that in 30 states across 65 tribes, and there's over 80 unique implementations of RiteTrack coast to coast right now. And in addition to the product, we also provide first-class implementation and support services to ensure that each of our RiteTrack implementations are successful for our clients. Some very general things about RiteTrack, because I'm going to talk about some very specific things once we get into this. First of all, it's a customizable platform that offers standard modules. So RiteTrack is a platform that we have designed standard modules on top of that is still customizable. Our goal with the standard modules is because we provide a child protective services or juvenile court or probation office with a system that is 70, 75, 80% of what you need right off the shelf or out of the box. And then that last 15, 20, 25% would be customized for every implementation. Very important characteristic of RiteTrack in that a lot of times you get out of the box functionality, but no customization, or everything custom and no standard. RiteTrack is a blend of the standard offering and customization options. It is designed, and we get good feedback about the system being easy to use. And I am going to be in the system for some demonstration for some of it, and so you'll get a sense of that. And I do want to mention that RiteTrack is scalable. RiteTrack is, we market it as an enterprise level software architecture, and it is. But I received a contact yesterday from the Las Vegas Paiute tribe. That is a very small implementation that we have. There's one user there with a small caseload. That is a successful functioning RiteTrack system. The Arkansas Division of Youth Services is a huge, hundreds of users statewide system, also a successful RiteTrack implementation. So regardless if you are a one-user office or looking for your county or state, RiteTrack is scalable for any size of implementation. So what I'm going to be talking about today specifically includes RiteTrack's technology and our hosting options. There's some changes there, and there's some things through all of these categories that are not a change from our prior platform, but they're important to highlight, and so we'll talk about today. One thing that is new is that RiteTrack is mobile. So we'll be talking about the new user experience that offers, as well as other improvements we've made to the interface to make things easier for users. And that's another thing where we've gotten really good feedback. In addition to it's easy to use, but the tips and tricks that we put in to minimize required mouse clicks and navigation have been welcomed by our user base. RiteTrack can send notifications to users and non-users, and we have a new inline notification engine that I'll show you today that allows you to put a notification on the create or change status of any object in the system. Now, RiteTrack is all about putting data in, but what about that information you need to get out of the system? Well, often those are things like statistical reports that you have for administration or funding, but that can also mean the documents and forms that you generate to provide to your clients. A coworker recently did a post on the blog where he talked about a court that we work with that has over 30 different notices that they need to print and provide to the people that they see in their court. What we have in the next generation of RiteTrack is a form generator that allows us and you to very easily create and maintain those documents that you need to generate out of your RiteTrack system. System administration refers to how you're able to administer the system yourself without having to use handle support. And handle support also uses the system administration section of RiteTrack, but we'll be going over what's offered and available for you to do in there as well. And a couple of things that aren't really demonstrable, but we'll be talking about RiteTrack's API, application programming interface, that allows us to exchange information with other systems very easily. And then, of course, security, and RiteTrack having had to be HIPAA compliant for ever since HIPAA was a law. RiteTrack's always been secure, but we offer even more when it comes to our security today, and I'll be talking more about that. Starting off with our technology and hosting, RiteTrack's entire technology stack now relies on the latest HTML5 specifications. That supports the last two major releases of Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. RiteTrack framework is written in the C# programming language on the latest LTS version of Microsoft's .NET platform. The database backend is SQL Server, and it is suggested that that is edition standard or higher, and required will be the year or version 2016 or newer. However, SQL Express can be used if it's going to be a small system, and that the criteria being a database that will remain under 5 gigabytes and less than 5 concurrent users to the system. In that case, SQL Express may be used. And this is not a change, but something that is important to recognize for existing and new customers, and that is that RiteTrack offers different hosting solutions. You can host the system yourself on premise in your own network and servers, but we do offer cloud hosting. Our cloud hosting is a little different from many offerings in that it is not a SaaS or software as a service model. Your system is housed in a private database. And I have a link here to our partner Lunavi data center. So your data is not stored with the data of other customers. It is in a private database, and you can always take over the hosting of that yourself if you would like. But I'm not going to go over all of the security and other criteria of Lunavi as a data center. I just wanted to point out their website, bring this up, see that their largest data center is just 45 minutes away in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and you're welcome to go to their site or contact them, or we can get you directly in contact with them about their security, redundancy in power, as well as internet providers and everything that they offer as a tier one data center. Okay. RiteTrack is now mobile, and it's the best kind of mobile. You've probably encountered different sites or apps that you've tried to use on a phone or tablet that haven't worked out as well as you'd hoped. Well, there's different levels of mobile responsiveness or friendliness or optimization, actually three terms for three different things. Mobile friendly refers to adapting a website that's been designed specifically for desktop screens to a smaller version for smartphones or tablets. Basically, it takes the screen and shrinks it. It takes any images and shrinks those. It does manage to usually fit the view on a smaller screen, but it's not a very good user experience oftentimes. Mobile optimized systems have actually been designed for that particular device. So the mobile optimized application for RiteTrack would be maybe optimized for a particular phone. What RiteTrack is mobile responsive. And mobile responsive websites are able to respond to the device they're being viewed on and will automatically reformat themselves so they may work well and look great on laptops, tablets, smartphones, and almost any other device. So with RiteTrack being mobile responsive, it offers all of the same functionality that you have in the desktop experience, only with a little more streamlined interface to make it easier to view and enter data on the smaller screen. But it does, doing things like, as is shown here in our graphic, doing an automatic hiding of the navigation menu so you have more screen real estate for the particular record that you're on. And with RiteTrack in the field now, you can add, view, edit, even delete records in the field from multiple locations, from home, depending on the role of the users in your organization. This may be more or less useful depending on the amount of work that's done in the field. But for those that do have necessity of having your system and your data with you anywhere, this is huge. And as is reflected in the graphic here, if your device has voice dictation enabled, then you can use that to record notes in the RiteTrack mobile interface as well. This one makes me really excited, and it always has. I used to work in customer relations and directly with customers after we went under contract and went live, and I don't so much anymore. But I do love to hear when we have happy users, and some of the changes that we've made in the newest platform have led to some very great feedback from our users, and that includes utilization of dashboards, hyperlinks, the ability to open multiple windows, all of which we'll look at here, and then also validation logic, which has always been available in RiteTrack and something that happens behind the scenes, but we have even more options with now. And what that does is ensures that the correct, complete, accurate data is entered in your system based upon other data that's been entered. So RiteTrack will validate information that's been entered or require information pending other information that's been entered. But let's go back here. We're done with Navi and log into, I'm going to log into the port demonstration site. It can be any site, but once I've done that, the first thing I'm presented with as a user is my dashboard. So I can configure my dashboard. Here I'm on my user record, my summary information and smiling photograph. But under the dashboard section, then I have access to configure these dash tiles or reports that I want to see when I log into the system for the first time every day. I can access my dashboard by clicking on RiteTrack up in the upper left. And what I have configured here are outstanding fines and fees. So this is a list of, as of today, any outstanding fines and fees in the system. I also have my docket calendar and a list of any people that, as of today, are banned from any locations because of their involvement in a case of some sort. Now, very useful, presented with, if I'm a court clerk that takes payments for fines and fees, then I can very easily go here from my desktop and do that. And I don't have to navigate to Alex Demonstration's record and then his court fine, because as I move my cursor around, I can see that it changes when I get over the text that's in blue and it becomes underlined. That means it's a hyperlink, and that means that I can just click on Alex's name here, and it will take me directly to his record in the system. Or I can click on the court fine next to his name and be taken there. Or better yet, I can actually right click on either any of these records and open them in a new browser view. So I can open up Carter Sullivan's person record, Colby Fenster's court fine record, and perhaps I wanted to look at this hearing that I have upcoming and this arraignment hearing. Now, I haven't moved from my dashboard, but now I can review Carter Sullivan's person record. I can take payment on this particular fine or fee. I can go and review my upcoming paternity hearing and arraignment hearings that I have scheduled, and any information that we may have that I need to view or update on these records. So I can have multiple windows, tabs open, or break those into windows if I had and run reports, for instance, of different date ranges and be able to do a side-by-side comparison of the information based upon the dates. If it isn't as readily apparent in the regular interface, I can have both reports or two versions of the report run and compare them at the same time. Very popular with users. What it does is it eliminates the necessity of doing as much searching and favoriting, although that is streamlined as much as possible, and then having to navigate through multiple clicks. Now, it's not just on the dashboard. Also, within reports, we'll find hyperlinks, and even in the interface. For instance, here under Carter Sullivan's record and the two cases that he's involved in, if I wanted to go to either of those, these are hyperlinks, and I can open these in new views as well. As I mentioned, on other reports, like active warrants, we'll find hyperlinks embedded as well. And even in statistical reports where we're exposing data sets that were compiled the statistics, there are links to those individual records in the data sets as well. So dashboards, hyperlink, and the ability to open multiple windows. When I heard of these changes, I didn't think they were that substantial, but come to find out when RiteTrack is being used daily in the real world, very substantial changes. Another change of something that we've always had notifications, but those have been custom notifications and usually custom triggered notifications, wherein based upon some predetermined action, something happens and then someone is notified or reminded of something. Well, now we have the ability to create inline notifications on any object in the system. So let's take a look at that. So let's go back to a person record, go to my test subject, John test client, and say I wanted to be notified the next time a new charge was entered on John's record. Then I can go to charges under John's record, and here I have the ability to create a new charge, add a create notification, or add a change notification. In this case, I'd add a create notification because I want to know the next time John is charged with something or has a charge entered in the system. I can either select the user myself to receive the notification or a role predetermined in the system, and then whether the system or the notification is received via system or email. I can choose both and then save this notification. And then the next time John has a charge entered on him, I will be notified. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't test saving. But I am going to be able to show you some existing notifications there. If I am to be notified in the system, then the bell up here in the upper right is going to ring at me, and it's going to notify me of all things that have configured to be notified of. I can also view my notification subscriptions here. And so I have when Carter Sullivan, a create notification on person addresses, a change on person addresses, Miranda McGuire, a change notification on person band records. You can see I can add or view rather and edit my current notifications here. And if it's an email notification, then RiteTrack will send me an email of the incident that I've chosen to be notified of with a link to that particular data element. Also, in the instance of where we had a change notification, we have a drug test for John, but I want to be notified when an aspect of this drug test was changed. So if something in this record was changed, like drugs and the outcome were updated, if there are any updates made, then I can do a change notification. And anytime any of these records is changed, I will receive a notification either in system or via email. Now, we can still also do custom notifications, and notifications can be generated and sent to non-users. So your clients and the others that you're providing services to can receive notifications like reminders of upcoming meetings, or a reminder or notification that they have something due or that they have a license expiring, anything that you would want to contact those individuals about, so long as they have a phone number or email address in RiteTrack. RiteTrack is able to send notifications to the rest of your community as well. The form generator is another, and this is popular both from the customer side as well as from the customer relations here side, because it simplified something that we do for every implementation. Let's go ahead and just take a look directly at that. So, for instance, in this court demonstration, under a hearing, you may have notice of hearing or a hearing order following hearing that may need to be generated for this type of hearing. And that's something obviously you want to do in your software system, and RiteTrack can do. And it has been able to do before, but now we have the form generator that allows us to take that form that you have now, and basically it's a little more than this, but copy and paste the template as well as data into a template in the form generator, and then associate it with a query or view into the data, which I can see here when I go to edit this form, and then have information like the petitioner, defendant, case number, hearing type, hearing date and time, all pre-filled. in this form template. When I'm editing, I can actually go down below and see what it's going to look like if any changes that I make, and I'm not actually going to make any edits here, but you can see once this has been created, you can very easily go in and modify the standard text or even the pre-filled data elements that are being inserted into this document. And once I've generated that, I can either save it and as a another file format, for instance, a PDF if I wanted to share it electronically, or print this document and provide it with someone that they can take with them as they leave the court. So instead of creating 30 different reports for the example customer that the blog was written about, we're instead able to very easily, in a matter of an hour or two, copy and paste those documents into our form generator, set them up with the pre-filled information, and have them ready to go for you to generate in a very short amount of time. I did show and mention that the editing works much like mail merge if you're familiar with that. Oh, and on that topic as well, I should say that we can batch generate these documents as well. So if you need to generate 40 copies, RiteTrack can be configured to do that at one time as well. Now, most people, users, will never have seen this side of RiteTrack, even though it is in the interface. It's something that customer relations here in our office uses, but is also available for IT or other power users, however they may be defined for our customers, and that's the system administration area of RiteTrack. So let's pop over and take a look and see what's available there now. The administration section, generally not even accessible to most users, but so that you're aware of what can be done here. One of the things, managing your existing users. There's a way, I'm not configured to do this to require that they change their password, but we can also delete or disable a user, deactivate them so that they're no longer, their account is no longer active, and add claims, that is, add them to security groups or remove them from security groups that define the access that they have in the system. RiteTrack audits all activity that takes place in the system. So anytime something is edited, or deleted, it is recorded, including the user ID, time, date stamp, what type of action this was, and then if it was a change, what was the old and new value that were changed, added, or deleted. So all of that is recorded. We have reports that are available. You can also search the audit log, as it is going to be very extensive. The reports break this down into date ranges to make it much more easy to go in and see, try to find activity that you're needing to find through the audit log. An extension of the audit log is the ability to recover deleted items, so also searchable. Then when we found something that has been deleted that should not have been, we have the ability here to recover that object. I can manage policy notifications. So if you remember when I did a add or change inline notification, one of the options that I had was to set it up for a role. So I can see the policies that have been set up for the role administrator role, and these aren't very realistic. Just some examples, some things that we've added as we've been demonstrating this particular module. But I have the ability to go and manage these policy notifications in the administration interface. One of the most common things that we get asked, or I get asked, and that is, and that I try to communicate is, anything you see in a drop down in the demonstration is just an example. Well, how do you manage those type of management in the administration interface is how that's done. Now, that might be something simple, like adding or editing a particular record of action for a case file. You can see here, there's 21 entries now. And they're simple. It's just the label of whatever the record of action type was. But type management can also be a little more involved. For instance, when we're talking about criminal charges, in addition to the label. Now we also have code, an abbreviation, and we can be group them into categories. So this particular charge is part of it is categorized as domestic violence as well as felony. And then of course we can do different things with that information based upon the charge category of a charge. So types may be just labels. Oops, let's go back to administration. Or there may be some additional criteria for this particular drop down. For instance, whether or not if a case file status history type is default and whether or not it's an open status. So some other things can be configured within the scope of just a drop down lists. The reports that are available in the system have been configured in the administration interface by importing those reports. We name it, say, is this a report for what are we reporting on? The description that'll be seen in the interface, and then the file name of the report. Our reports are developed in HTML, and so they're HTML files that then are imported in and can be attached to different levels of RiteTrack. For instance, type of court fine payments is available both under persons and under organizations. Same report available in different areas as configured here in the reports administration. Meta classes does more than this, but for the layman's purposes, this allows us to, for any object in the system, say, give it a different label. So if for you call documents something other than documents, we can call them something different. Define whether or not it's a favoritable object, and then its icon as well. So just some cosmetic things with the meta classes. I know it does more than that, but on the surface and for our purposes, that works. And finally, the last thing we can do in system administration is configure reports as dash tiles. So we can select any report to be a dash tile, and when we configure that as such, then we can set up how it lays out basically within. Is it layout on top of other tiles? Is it horizontal, vertical? Is it resizable? And then what report is tied to that? And then that's available as dash tiles under the user. Back to my user dashboard configuration. RiteTrack's API. We had an API previously. It has been standardized now. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's basically a way that allows disparate systems to talk, to exchange information. So RiteTrack to push information to another software system or exchange information or receive that. It's an interface that streamlines those interfaces and those processes. And this obviously supports integration initiatives. And while we would often say, oh, if you have an enrollment department and an Indian Child Welfare department, they can both be on RiteTrack and sharing the same database. And so you'd be able to have Indian Child Welfare people look up enrollment eligibility information from the enrollment side. But if they had disparate systems, that for instance, Indian Child Welfare had a RiteTrack system, enrollment has a progeny database, RiteTrack's API will allow us to interface with the progeny database and exchange information with that. Another example might be if you have TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program that provides financial assistance. You may have your RiteTrack system interfacing with your finance system to send requests for payment to be made to finance, and then updates once those payments have been made back to your RiteTrack system. Or for a wellness court, they may interface with treatment services to know when a client has had required assessments done. or perhaps with drug test centers, they get automatic updates of drug tests that have been done. So examples of interfaces between different systems that can be accomplished very easily through the RiteTrack API. And finally, security. RiteTrack has always had multiple levels of security in that there's security at the network level, the application level, and the database level. At the application level, that includes the RiteTrack security model that allows you to define what people can add, view, add, edit, or delete, even down to the field on a form view. Data is encrypted, and encryption refers to when data is being sent between the database and the user. Is the data safe? It is. We use secure socket layer. That's apparently now called transport layer security. But the SSL, secure sockets layer, that encrypts the data that it is moving between RiteTrack database and the user. You're able to define different password complexity depending on the level of private information you have in your system. So if you require it to be 12 characters and include a special character, letters, and numbers, we're able to do that, and you're able to define the required complexity of your password as well as how often they expire. We can interface either if we host or especially if you host, a little more work. If we are hosting with your Active Directory to enable single sign-on, so there's not a separate login to RiteTrack, but it is the rights are inherited from your network login. A HIPAA requirement and another one that can be configured by you, and that is the inactivity timeout. So if I'm in RiteTrack and I walk away from my desk, how long until I'm logged out automatically, so that someone couldn't walk by my desk and get into the system with my parameters and be able to access things they should not. Is that 5 minutes? Is that 15 minutes? You're able to define that, and RiteTrack enforces it. I talked quite a bit about auditing that RiteTrack does. Again, anytime anything is edited, or deleted in the system, it records all aspects of that transaction in the database. And upcoming, we don't have any live now, but we have a couple customers that are interested in two-factor authentication. Not one of my favorite things, maybe one of yours, maybe not, but absolutely a necessity sometimes in today's world with the security concerns that we have. Two-factor authentication is an offering that we will have for RiteTrack yet this year as well. So RiteTrack has always been secure, HIPAA compliant. We've had to be because we've always stored data that may be what's what I'm looking for, medical, particularly, or mental health information. And RiteTrack remains as secure as it ever was, and even more so now with more options as to how to keep your access to your system secure. So that's everything that we had to cover today. Katie, I know you've been looking at the uh, chat to see if we've got any questions that have come in, but if there are, we'll do our best to answer them. And if we've got IT people on the line and they stump Katie and I, then we'll take your questions to IT and we'll get back to you. But while we're here, let's see if there's anything we can answer.
Yeah, it looks like we just have one question so far, and it says, will all of my customizations be upgraded into the new system?
Yes. Now that's planning of your upgrade is there's some things where we've likely taken what was a common customization and now made it standard. So that won't have to be recustomized. And you will have the opportunity to make some decisions about, okay, here's the new standard. How do our customizations fit into this, as they will be recustomized in there? But yes, when a system is upgraded, you're able to choose what customizations come along and how those come. If there are customizations that you no longer use and didn't need to come along into the new platform, that would be defined as well as you work with your PM project manager to define how that conversion will take place. But yes, RiteTrack is only more configurable now. So the customizations we were able to do in the past, if they're not standard functionality now, they're even easier for us to configure and customize.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. I
You're
think
welcome.
that that's all of the questions that were sent into the chat. If you guys have any more, though, Casey is going to be putting his contact information up on the screen, so feel free to send them to us directly and we will work on getting those answered.
That would be swell, but I don't actually have that slide, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Uh, how, surprise.
Well,
Um,
that's okay.
that yes, you will be receiving a follow-up email with a link to the recording, and if anyone would like to talk with us about anything further or get in contact with if you are a customer with your project manager, we can do that for you or answer any questions you may have. Uh, yeah, reach out to us on that follow-up email. Sorry, yeah, that's usually my last slide, Katie, and you caught me.
Yeah, I did. Caught you off guard.
Yep.
But no worries. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Casey. You always provide so many great insights, and you really made it easy to see how the new features of RiteTrack, especially, I think that increased mobility and the report templating engine, those can be super, super helpful. So thank you for that today. And then thank you guys all for attending today's session. As we close out, just a reminder that there will be a survey that pops up at the closing of the webinar, and we would love to hear your feedback. I hope that everyone has enjoyed today's session and that you will return for some of our upcoming sessions. Keep an eye out in your email inbox and on our website for those. And I believe that's all from me. So thanks again and have a great week, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.